And we're back. Welcome back to the review channel. This is part two. If you're watching this, if you just got here from Kevin Reviews, shout out to Kev for helping me make part one. I really loved all the things that he had to say. And so we chose to make this a part one and part two series, mostly because neither of us are very handy with editing. And so as of last night, I decided I was not very good at it and just decided, hey, let's just do this like a part one, part two series on our channels and we'll just kind of share the views. So, if you haven't seen part one yet of the 1917, a film perspective piece from Kevin, then go and watch that. And I know he's posting a full detailed breakdown on his channel as well, just not even in the part series that I did with him. But so go check that out. Cut to review. All right. And welcome back, everybody. Let's talk a little bit about the nerdier side of 1917 as a film piece. Through the eyes of this cinematography, this film is almost perfect. Maybe shooting the whole thing on an entire certain type of camera. This film was mostly shot on an ARRI Alexa Mini LF Digital 2.339:1 widescreen lens, shot on a continuous film, which makes this war film feel expanded and intensive while only using minimal cutting edge technology and editing techniques to make the shots feel like they were built for this film alone. Which is one of the things I loved in part one that Kevin talked about, was just some of the editing and stuff that they did throughout the film. You can really feel it through some of the production design and the moments where there's more than just little things, but it's just so awesome. So while making the trench warfare and close moments with the characters just feel that much more beautiful and terrifying and amazing all at the same time, 1917 really appreciates the world in which it sets its warriors on a path to a film that will stand the test of time, not only because it's extremely well written, with enough character development and war scenes and just awesome production design to stand the test of time. It's also extremely well written, and the long drawn out, horrifyingly beautiful production stage sets and cinematic beats throughout make this one feel like just something of its own kind that we don't really get to see a lot of nowadays. Two films that I kind of thought in the same vein of this one, if you're into that kind of horrifyingly real type thing that you might enjoy, that I recently viewed along with these two films in the past in the same genre, would be Hacksaw Ridge and Warfare. Warfare is actually also from Sam Mendes, who made this one, and he also made and directed one of my favorite films from last year. I have this in my notes. A24's Warfare. He's one of the best in the game, in my opinion, as far as like war films goes. He chose to stitch this together from stories told from Her Majesty's royal army men at that time, and so that's just awesome. But this is one of the favorites of mine, is Warfare. He also does that one. Also, you could also just watch Saving Private Ryan. You can see back there on my wall, I have a signed framed poster of that one, just because it is another one of my favorite war films. If you're into that kind of horrifyingly true story, Another thing I wanted to talk about with this movie was just all the different nominations that this one got back at the 2017 or 2018 Oscars. Here are all the nominations that it did get. Best Picture, along with Best Director for Sam Mendes, Best Original Screenplay, Best Cinematography for Roger Deakins, um, along with Best Original Score from Thomas Newman. Uh, and Newman, I agree with Kevin Reviews on this one. He talks about in his review the soundtrack throughout that had a lot of some of the best tension building and additional motion grabbing moments. I mean, I won't even lie to you. Some of the moments that work best for me don't have the music overlaying it. Like the moment where Schofield is comforting Blake. No spoilers there. But there's a moment that's really a dark moment where Schofield and Blake are just having this really kind of close moment with each other, an intimate moment, not in the way that you think of intimate moment for them. And it's just a really quiet moment. But the score for 1917 was composed by Thomas Newman. Thomas Newman is one of those ones for me that, you often think about in the same camp as, like, honestly, Hans Zimmer and John Williams, where he's in that same camp where if you don't really realize all the different things he's done, you'd be like, really? That's Thomas Newman? And you'd be like, whoa, that's crazy. But the score is subtle, and he's known best for creating emotional, atmospheric scores with a lot of subtle tension and beauty, which fits 1917 perfectly, in my opinion, actually. The music in the film shifts between quiet and haunting piano and string quartet moments to the huge, sweeping orchestra booming, almost Zimmer-esque pieces during the more intense sequences. He's also done the scores for both American Beauty and Shawshank Redemption, two other films that I wanted to talk about. American Beauty and Shawshank Redemption. Shawshank Redemption, actually, my friend Chester, the Sloth, covered on this channel a while back. And so, and one of the most famous tracks, I feel like, from 1917 is The Night Window, which plays during that Ruined City sequence and became kind of the emotional centerpiece of the score for me and of the movie, because that shot through Acoust and the Ruined City is just, I think, one of the most attention-grabbing moments throughout the film. And so the fact that this one got nominated for an Oscar doesn't really surprise me, but I wanted to talk about just, those moments where they use the flares and the lighting with the cameras just makes this movie just feel so cold and lonely in that moment. And then the contrast of when they're going through the burning part of the city, that whole scene is just, it chokes you with just how well they placed the production design. Which brings me back to, it also got nominated for Best Production Design, Best Visual Effects, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Sound Editing. Ultimately, it ended up only winning 3 Oscars at the Academy that year. It won Best Cinematography, Best Visual Effects, and Best Sound Mixing, which I feel like are great awards for this one, even though many people, even including myself, thought it should have won more awards for at least the score and maybe even Best Picture. But that award ultimately went to Parasite, which in a pretty historic upset. And while, people have that opinion, Parasite was definitely the winner that year. I do feel like I cannot judge based on the fact that I haven't seen Parasite yet. But I do agree with Kevin that, some of the warm moments in this film are just amazing. And I wanted to talk about those last scenes that we spend with our heroes, where we're kind of in that sand slate desert, And this is one of the reasons that they got best visual effects and sound mixing, is that last war film moment in 1917 when he finally makes it to the Devons and he has to race through that almost sand slate white clay type stuff to down the line to get to the general there, or the commander. It's just an amazing, amazing, amazing shot as he's running, and the camera kind of just focuses back on like the out, like it fills up the whole screen with just war, and it's just him right in the middle of it. And I feel like they used a very good perspective tonally there, where it almost feels like the rule of thirds, where it's just like everything, but then ultimately you're right there with him the whole time. And it almost feels like the golden ratio to me, in that moment where you know where you're supposed to be looking, but you can't help to look everywhere else. And there's explosions, there's moments where he bumps into another soldier and falls over, there's shots flying everywhere. It's just an amazing, amazing film, to be sure, in that sense. Another thing I wanted to talk about was just cinematography wise, was the opening shot from 1917. Is in the trench, and we just kind of plow through, and we're just moving with the soldiers. And Kevin talks about this too. The way that they do this is they put the mic and camera pack on an actual cameraman, and they have somebody stand behind him with a hand on a shoulder like this, and then they just move through the trench. And the production set itself is very, very cool. And I didn't necessarily look up who, or where they actually filmed this, but I do feel like the way they set it up, it definitely looks like, the late 1916, 17 type times, 1910s, in Europe. Just the way that they had, so many different like countrysides, and there was farmlands, and then just open fields of, just absolute desolation. And I mean, the opening shot where they go from their trench across the entire battlefield to the front line, you kind of get this perspective of just how large and frightening actually the entire thing was. And so really that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, was just the cinematography and film perspective of this film itself. The editing is just amazing. In and of itself, the sound editing and the fact that they did very little actual film edits is amazing to me. I feel like they did an amazing job just making it feel like it was that, what we heard from a lot of people, that one continuous shot, which makes you feel tired because, you watch it the whole time, you're like, you don't realize that you're watching one continuous thing until you get to the end, and you're like, holy cow. You feel like you've watched like 3 hours, even though I think it's only an hour and 45 minutes. And then you realize that's why this movie is amazing, is because there were those tiny little stitch digital moments, but if you blink, you miss them. And some of them are kind of obvious, like the scene where he falls into the river, that's a stitch moment, or the moments where the night is switching to day. During the acoustic scene, that's a very obvious one. And then there's some scenes that kind of cut behind something and then come back up, and that's definitely a cut take moment. And then there are some moments you can definitely see the little stitches, but ultimately they're so like minute and miniature that if you blink, you miss it. Which is why 1917 for me is one of those ones that I rewatch all the time, and I'm not even afraid to admit it. It makes me grown man cry. It is a beautifully, beautifully done film. Amazingly well shot, extremely well thought out and planned, to the extent that it even makes you feel like you're there the entire time with them. So, I think that's about all I have to say, actually. So part 2 might be a little bit shorter than part 1. Ultimately, I'd say I think it's on Netflix right now. If you're looking for something to go watch on Memorial Day, which is today, I'd say go watch 1917. It's not America related at all, but ultimately It is one of the best war films you will ever watch, and it's got enough gore, enough battle scenes, and enough beauty to just really keep you engaged with those characters. And the cast of characters, like Kevin mentioned, are just amazing. The acting choices are really superb, and there are moments that really just pull you in, along with some cameos from Colin Firth, Benedict Cumberbatch, and I can't remember his name, but the brother at the end. There are so many good moments, like, Mark Strong pops up for a minute and just rocks this, and there's just so many moments that you could really just appreciate throughout this film. I mean, the grotesqueness of it, I think Kevin talks about even, it's just, it makes you feel like, ugh, but, it's definitely needful for the type of thing that they're trying to do in this film. So, with that being said, I think I will end it there, and I will say this. Cut to end. Alright. I hope you guys like that little clip bit I have. If nothing else, even if we don't make it to the front line, at least we have this. We have to remember Memorial Day and all those soldiers who died for us bravely. Thank you. We salute you. We honor you today. And if nothing else, hopefully we will get to see your stories at the movies. All right. Peace, homies.